This is the third time that I've tried to make this video. The first two attempts only lasted a minute or two, so thankfully I didn't get too far into it. First of all, yesterday I had some toothpaste on my mouth because I like to brush my teeth right before I film these videos. Today I got this little zit right here. So unfortunately you're gonna have to deal with yet another foreign body around my mouth today. I'm not even gonna make a joke. Not even gonna make a joke about the foreign body at my mouth. A really interesting question has come over me. I mean, it's a question I've been wondering for quite some time, in some capacity. But yeah, are we just screwed? Is there any slight chance of redemption, of any kind of turnaround, of any kind of are we ever going to see anything that's anywhere close to what December of 2019 looked like? And December of 2019 did not even look very good, for the record. But it just feels like this this sense of doom is larger and larger every single day. And maybe it's the sense of doom that contributes and accelerates the real life doom, like our fear about it. You know, that whole thing about channeling, law of attraction. We think so much about how the world is doomed that we stop doing things to prevent the doom of the world, but I really do legitimately wonder if we are past the point of return. There's this clip from this show called The Newsroom, which I never watched. I watched that viral video where it's the show where Jeff Daniels talks about how we're not the greatest country in the world. There's a clip from it called like the climate change debate is over and it's done, or it's behind us. And a guy on the show just puts it very plainly that there is no return from how far we've gone. This was back in like 2012 too. And I know it's a fictional show, but the argument that he makes is darn compelling. He says, you know, if we had done something about this 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, so what would that be from there, like 1992 or 2002, we might have had some chance at it. And Jeff Daniels lists all these things that we could do to make things better, and he says, yeah, those would have been great. And he says, but if we listen to our best climate scientists, right? We acted diligently and passionately, I think are the words he uses. He says, I still don't think that we could do it. Is that true? Man, is that true? I don't know what to do with myself at the thought. I mean, I almost think that it would be nicer if I could just live in blissful ignorance, but that's not really useful to anything, is it? But I really have just been feeling like we are just doomed lately. Like there really isn't any chance for anything good. The world's just scary. And it's hard to take sometimes. But you know, one undeniably good thing is that my Instagram picture I posted today is actually doing okay. And I thought that thing was not going to get any love whatsoever, because I'm doing a 30-day write a little 100-word blog post. This is a picture for today. This is a picture from, one second. Yeah, this is a picture from, it's me in a costume of a play that I was in that was kind of a Jane Austen parody. And yeah, I didn't think it would get very good attention, because most of it, the draw to it, I think, is the post, like the words underneath, and people don't usually stop to actually read those. It's a little bit long. Dogs, hey! I'm gonna tell my dogs to be quiet. Hey, Fuzz. Hey, Fuzz. 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 It's okay, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for keeping us safe. I appreciate that dog so much. Unspeakably. That's honestly half sarcasm, half truth. He is a bark machine. and it's very hard to live with sometimes. Especially, guys. Especially the mailman and the trash man. There they keep going. There they keep going. But it is, it's pretty cool that people actually liked that picture. It only has like 15 likes so far, but I didn't post it very long ago and I don't have a ton of followers. The post itself says, today's prompt was write something that someone told you about yourself that you never forgot. Fuzz, 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 that's enough, buddy. Thank you. Write something that someone told you about yourself that you never forgot. You somehow make no sense and so much sense, was the quote that somebody said about me. And this was from a person who got to see 1,000 sides of me. I seem to think and behave very differently from most of my peers. Not better, just differently. I don't think any more deeply, but I think deeply in different directions. It can be isolating and my actions can be self-sabotaging, but they can also pay off big time. I know my reasoning behind everything I think, say, and do, even if I end up regretting it. I have a measurable system, I understand myself, and that's its own accomplishment. I like to think that all that's true. I mean, I think in the higher realm of my knowledge and consciousness, it is true that I do understand everything about myself. I frustrate myself a lot, for sure. For sure. What were we talking about? The end of the world. Oh, gosh. I can brighten up again. So I remember the first time that I ever heard about a thing called global warming. It was on this Time for Kids magazine. In 4th grade, we got Time for Kids magazine handed out to us every, I think like Tuesday or Wednesday. And then Mr. Levere, who's my teacher at the time, he would give us all a little worksheet for us to answer some questions to make sure that we actually read it. And I really didn't read it. I've always been a very bad reader. I'm a good consumer of information. I've actually read a lot of books. I've read, I couldn't count how many books, but I've read a lot of books. But I still consider myself a bad reader. I'm not a passionate reader is maybe more what it is. I don't put myself into the reading experience like I can put myself into the movie watching experience. But that was the first time that I ever heard anybody say global warming. And man, what they've had to say has gotten freakier and freakier over the years, hasn't it? I honestly thought, I remember watching Inconvenient Truth in my 6th grade class. And yeah, that was kind of freaky all on its own, wasn't it? Wasn't it? And that was when we had some little tiny shred of hope. I mean, I remember him on that scissor lift thing, that like, and he's like, this is where they're going to be at this time, and then carbon levels way up here. The question, I guess, like, if we are just screwed, what do we do? What do I do anymore? Obviously, an Instagram post isn't going to do anything about it, and I don't even think really a protest is going to do anything about it. If we are, I'm just going to say, hypothetically, for the sake of argument, or whatever. A Ben Shapiro line. Like, what if everything is absolutely screwed? What do we even do at this point? Should we just keep ourselves comfortable? Should we just all go back to just doing whatever we were doing before, without any masks on? I'm certainly not going to do that. But I just wonder, I mean, how diligently am I working to stop something that's inevitable? That I'm going to die. But now that I'm saying it out loud, that's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? Because, I mean, as Lana Del Rey famously said, and she was the first person to ever word it in such an eloquent way, we're born to die. We come out of the womb, and we are predestined to die someday. We exist just for the sake of making more of us. And we have too many of us, so I guess that we've sort of run our course I have no use in existing, in continuing forth, as far as evolution is concerned, as far as biology is concerned. We have enough of us. We've reached, what's it called, carrying capacity? There are a few things I really want to do before the world ends. I hope it holds out, you know, another year. It's funny that I even have to say that, but yeah, I don't flippin' know. What's the next strain of the coronavirus going to be? It's a disease that we don't know anything about, really. Still, all that we know is like the damage that it's done so far, and we don't know the potential damage that it could do. It's, anyway, I have some projects I'd like to do in the coming year. One of them is that I've been working on a novel. I actually started it a few months before the first shutdown, and it was going pretty okay. I was pretty happy with the direction it was going in. I've definitely had my creative inspiration bogged down. I don't think that necessarily has to do with the wackiness of the world. I think that more just has to do with my own little, you know, I worked with a caregiving client, an elderly lady who said, you know, she paints when the muse comes and then the muse goes. I don't think that system works for everybody. There's a wonderful, wonderful book called The War of Art that I think everybody who's aspiring for any sort of creative ambition, endeavor, I think everybody should read that book. And it's not even really artists. Like, I just think anybody who feels like they have some life purpose that they're not totally living up to. The War of Art, fantastic book. It's really short. The audiobook is like 2 hours. I definitely recommend it. He talks about in that book how you really have to, you have to be present whether or not the creative muse is. You have to kick yourself in the gear. The muse will not just, most of the time, will not just come down to somebody who's sitting there totally dormant. The person's got to, we must act out passion before we can feel it, I've heard say. That's a quote, and I don't know who it's from. My dogs are still barking. I'm going to have to get up in a second probably and tell them to stop. So yeah, that was the first time I ever heard about global warming, was in 4th grade. And I wish I had more witty things to say. I'm just flat scared. I am just scared that I am going to be dead very, very soon. There were some days, you know, years ago when I wished that I was dead. In circumstances where, like, I had a lot more opportunities than we have right now. The world was much more in a place of ease. Maybe there were still just as many awful things going on, but the morale of the world, I feel like, was so much higher. Should I just appreciate right now? Is that what it takes? Is it gonna take the whole world, like, going to crap for me to start appreciating this moment? They say live in the moment, right? Okay. Okay, cool. I'm living in the moment. I'm making a YouTube video. I want to get that novel finished before the world ends. I have 2 musical projects that have kind of been in the works. 2 different mixtapes. Very, very different styles. One of them is sort of, because I rap, more of the, it's like the thematic elements of either one are pretty different. One of them is more abstract and kind of atmospheric, rather than telling like sort of a straightforward narrative. I really like saying words in a way that confuses people, disorients people. And then on the other side, the other tape is more of a They Might Be Giants kind of thing, where it's a whole bunch of kind of, or like Primus or Ween or something like that, where it's kind of like really wacky stories that are like really, really well presented. At least that's the aim. That's what we're going for. I really respect people like Primus and Ween and stuff. Very, very talented musicians who just have a weird message in their heart that they have to tell. And so they just do it. They use all their talents, they put them all together to deliver something that is not what everybody else is doing. They're not straightforward narratives. I feel like I almost just can't watch new standard kind of story films. That's not always true. There are of course exceptions to the rule, but I way more gravitate toward like the avant-garde these days. Stuff that has very obvious themes and feels for you to take away, but the direct, like what they're trying to say is not totally clear. And it leaves a little bit of work for you to do. I think that's really cool. I don't want to just spoon feed my message to people all the time. There's a time and a place to spoon feed a message to people, obviously. I went to Corvallis this past weekend. And that's where I went to college, was OSU. I visited a friend there. And while I was there, I took some tasty chocolates that do certain things to the brain. And I had a really interesting experience. There were some cathartic emotional moments. There were some really fun, whimsical moments. There were some very relaxing, very lovely moments. The scariest part of that whole trip. Do I mean trip as in the trip to Corvallis, or I don't know. The scariest part of the whole thing was when me and my friend went to get frozen yogurt. He got frozen yogurt. I've kind of been trying to watch what I'm eating these days. We'll see how long that lasts. We go in to get frozen yogurt and it's completely empty. There's nobody there. There's not even a person behind the counter. This place would be popping most of the time when I went to school there. It's right across the street from campus, and it was totally empty. But we could still go and get froyo. I didn't really want frozen yogurt. I already said that. Let me sip my tea and see if these thoughts come out any clearer. But my friend was getting frozen yogurt, and you had to put on gloves to go dispense the froyo from the machine and put your toppings on it and stuff. And it's just eerie. It was just eerie. It really felt like this is a desolate remains of what used to be a successful business. Because any business that actually requires you going there is kind of, its future's pretty up in the air right now, isn't it? And on the TV monitors in this place, this was like the eeriest and really just downer part of the whole thing. It shows, they show slideshows, and they have always done this, of people having a wonderful time there. People going there, you know, groups of friends and family, and just really enjoying themselves, sitting at tables eating frozen yogurt. And none of them are wearing masks, so obviously this was before everything started. I just really miss things. I just miss things. I miss places. I miss people. I found out that my best friend is he's immunocompromised. So for the immediate future, and possibly forever, possibly as long as we humans are alive, I need to wear a mask in his presence. And I can't imagine how scary that must feel for him. That he's in a situation where people can no longer even be around him without wearing a medical grade cover. One thing that I really look forward to is, you know, every couple weeks or so we have at least a hangout, and a lot of the times a sleepover. We're adults, but we still do that. And, you know, even in the wake of coronavirus, we were still kind of doing that. It was kind of against the rules, but I feel like everybody had... The old, like, cell phone commercials used to talk about something called, like, your 5. which was like 5 people that you could have unlimited talk and text to. This is kind of old, like 2008 era, I think. I feel like everybody developed a COVID 5, like 5 people that they were willing to sort of break that rule with. And maybe that's exactly why it didn't end in our initial lockdown and quarantine time, is because we had that 5. To some degree, I can't blame people, though. I mean, sure, there was abject recklessness by tons of people, even me some days. But we need people. Like, the human body needs people. The human spirit needs people. We need other people to be around us, and having a disease that says you need to go in there and you need to go in there. I understand why people didn't take to it. It doesn't mean it was the right thing to do, but like I can't bring myself to demonize people who weren't the best quarantiners. I don't like people necessarily spreading misinformation, and I don't like people just basking in their unwillingness to, I don't know. But we really need people, and I think everybody's mental health has just taken a... What is wrong with me? I usually can whistle really well. Green tea is really good. What I like about it is that it gives me enough of a caffeine kick to keep me going in some sluggier parts of the day, but it doesn't make me nearly as anxious as coffee. And I love coffee. Like, I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to get rid of coffee completely. But I mean, I really don't like the anxiety that follows it. And green tea has so many other proven benefits. My heart's probably great. In great condition right now because of all the green tea that I drank. Another thing that I want to get done in the coming year is, I'll actually get done with this probably in the next month or 2. I've been working on a music video for a song. It's a 10-minute song. It's a 10.5-minute song. Each consisting of little 1-minute segments where little vignettes that each have kind of a different theme to them. But all sort of tied together. I have my own little magnum opus coming out, my own little Stairway to Heaven kind of deal. And I'm pretty excited about that. It's taken way longer to get it done than I was expecting, both in the recording, mixing, mastering, and then filming. We're still in the process of filming, and then the guy that I'm paying to do it for me is, going to be editing the thing. He's never, I really view it as a pretty, is it symbiotic relationship where you both benefit from it? I don't know. I'm bad at science. Oh yeah, I'm excited for the day when I'll talk about just how bad I am at science. Not today though, not today. Today I am wallowing in existential dread. I know that Bo Burnham and Inside kind of talked about this in a way that it almost felt like he said it for the generation. Like, does anybody else even need to talk about this feeling like we're all going to die? And he even makes a plea, can everybody please just STFU? I wish, buddy, I wish. But I honestly feel so much better when I've said things, even if they're things that I regret. I feel better generally for saying the thing that I regret than holding that thing inside of me. And then because then when it's inside of me, I have to think, even if I'm conflicted about it, I'm like, would that have been a good thing to say? Or would that have been a bad thing to say? It feels better just to have said it, and then I don't need to wonder about it. I just know. Oh no, actually, Joe, that was a horrible thing to say. You should be very ashamed. And your family doesn't love you anymore because of it. But hey, you don't have any friends either now. But hey, and you're bankrupt. But hey, and your zipper's stuck. I gotta stop there. I was already having a bit of a panic attack before, but the thought of a zipper getting stuck irreparably, which has happened to me once that I can remember, maybe more, but it was actually my favorite jacket in 5th or 6th grade. The zipper on the jacket got stuck, and it just would not give. The absolute only way to get me out of that jacket was to cut me out, and I could never wear it again. But I feel like we have, just like with your shoes, I mean, just like any article of clothing, we need change every once in a while. You know, hold on to, I'm not advocating, you know, having a shopping addiction. I'm not advocating for producing more waste with all the stupid, unnecessary things we buy, which I'm totally guilty of. What I am advocating for is that, I don't know, you can feel good about when you do need to get something new. Doesn't it kind of feel good when something breaks, because then you have to replace it? You don't have to debate with yourself anymore about whether it's a good idea. You just have to get a new one. And I got a new jacket after that one, and I think that I got it at Goodwill. And I remember really liking that jacket, and I had that jacket for a couple of years too. I have one jacket now. It's a big, it's a very warm, like Columbia, sponsored by, no. It's a big, warm, black Columbia that's very water and snowproof for when it gets to that time of year. And I got it 3.5 years ago because I took a trip to Minneapolis with my girlfriend at the time. And I knew that it was going to be super duper snowy. And I had been considering getting a warmer coat for a while, but it just felt like everything lined up just right. That like, yeah, I'll be doing this now. And I still have it. It's a great jacket. It's a great jacket. That jacket actually is going to be very heartbreaking when I have to get rid of it. I really like the outdoor gear, like the big names. If you're going to get it from like REI or something like that, you can be guaranteed that it's going to last a while. And if it doesn't last a good enough time, there's usually a pretty good warranty on it. Planned obsolescence is really frustrating. And I don't know what thing in my house is going to break next, but I know that something's going to break pretty soon because people don't want to sell you something that's going to last for 100 years. They want to make stuff that you have to replace after a certain point. I mean, it's just a question of like how much money do they need. Obviously, if they don't want to just sell one to one customer ever in that customer's entire lifetime. But it sure would make things more convenient, wouldn't it? Maybe in a day when we move past capitalism, we'll start seeing products that last a whole lifetime. Got that a literal lifetime guarantee behind them. Like, I have a warranty on this camera, but the last time I had a warranty on something, the people who gave it to me from Amazon just never got back to me on it. So for all I know, if this breaks, I'm just... I like doing that, boys. Yeah, so when this camera breaks, I'm probably going to get one that's not nearly as expensive as it. Because this isn't even a great camera, but I do not have the money for amazing equipment. Unless I borrow a friend's, or there's a place nearby that like you can take some like filmmaking classes with them and then they let you rent their equipment for free. So that's pretty cool. I do like the simplicity of my little Canon. So that's nice. It's really nice for when I want to turn on the camera and talk haphazardly about the end of the world. Just feels like there's another warning sign every single day that it's about to happen. And... oh, nope. I still have another minute. I thought it would cut out at 28 minutes and 59 seconds. Turns out it cuts out at 29 minutes and 59 seconds. So I have a whole other minute to goof around. But I actually have a topic that I want to talk more about, which will come around in the next like 40 seconds because I don't want to get interrupted. So for right now, I'll just talk about how, man, lamps. I like them. I have a lamp on my arm. All right, let's focus on it. Yeah, boy. People ask me sometimes what this lamp means. And truth be told, it's just that I like lamps. I like lamps. But sometimes I tell them that this lamp is like the only thing that my grandpa managed to bring back from Nazi Germany. Like he escaped and the only possession that he brought back was this single lamp, and it's a family heirloom. I actually told that story to my sister's friend at when she came over for Thanksgiving. She was pretty. I hope that she's not watching this. But anyway, my sister's pretty friend. I told her that, but I thought I told her with the context. I had already given her context for it. This is a thing that I tell people sometimes. I wasn't trying to fool her. I guess that she missed that initial context behind it. Because she actually believed me for a split second. But then she thought about it for just a moment and she was like, wait a second, they're not Jewish. But she didn't say anything to us. She brought it up to my sister later on. That was just funny. I am such a good troll that I'm trolling people even when I'm not trying to. Even when I'm trying to be totally sincere. Even when I'm not trying to make a joke. The joke is on somebody. And a lot of times it's me. My existence is a joke. I wonder how good that photo's doing. No. I told myself that I wasn't going to be just checking my phone or my computer this entire time. So, since COVID, I've taken 4 COVID tests. I took those all in the course of 6 or 7 months. I took 4 different COVID tests. They all came back negative. But each of those times, I swore that there was something going on. I swore that there was something going on every single time. I probably was legitimately having symptoms. The fact that I think that if you're even feeling like you're having symptoms, you're having symptoms. And they ranged from, nausea to not being able to breathe very well out of my nose to... I don't know, a little bit of loss of taste and smell. Just a whole bunch of things. Or feeling like my breathing required a little bit more conscious effort than usual. They all felt very, very legitimate. I think I have really bad phantom symptoms. I think that the thought of something scares me so bad that my body decides that it's actually so and brings it about within me. And I feel like right now I'm having more of those phantom symptoms. And I'm debating whether or not I want to go get a COVID test or not. I hate when I do that, when I say whether or not and then I say or not at the end of the sentence. Gosh, it's like when somebody wants to emphasize how early they had to wake up. I had to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning. Really? 4 a.m. in the morning. It wasn't 4 a.m. in the afternoon. It wasn't 4 a.m. I could go on making fun of them, but this hypothetical person. But yeah, man, so I swear to God, just the fear of something happening, I'll start feeling it. I like what Lewis Black said about, he read some article on a plane about diabetes and horrible effects and symptoms that people have from it. And he said, by the end of that flight, I had diabetes. No frickin' crap. True dat. That is the realest thing. Does that make me a hypochondriac? I don't think so, because I'm not particularly clean. My room's pretty messy. And, I don't know, if I drop some food on the floor, I don't feel that bad about just going ahead and eating it. Remember how as kids, we drop something on the floor, we blow on it to get rid of all the germs, blow all the germs off of it. That's how it works. Kid, unless your breath has Lysol in it, you're probably not doing very much. I remember one time even at camp, a kid dropped... There was a big plate of tortillas. Remember when we could have summer camp and we could pass around food that would go through different hands and then we would eat it and feel comfortable about it? Oh my. Oh my. Anyway, we were passing around this plate of tortillas for everybody to take one. This kid spills some tortillas on the ground and this kid insists on taking every single tortilla. He will not put them back on the plate no matter how much me and this other counselor who are sitting at the table are telling him, don't bother, you're making it worse. He blew on every single tortilla that was left. But the other kids didn't care because kids don't care about germs. Maybe that's the reason kids don't I couldn't bring up any statistics on this. But do you think that kids don't get sick as much because they're not as worried about it? Maybe. Maybe. I remember seeing the movie The Secret Garden. I was 7 or 8 years old and I watched The Secret Garden, and it opens with the girl's parents. They get killed in an earthquake in India, and immediately I have this horrid panic that there's going to be an earthquake and either me or my mom is going to die. I had a lot of terror when I was a kid. Anytime that my mom would be like 30 seconds late to pick me up from something. She's dead. She died this time. I know that she was fine all those other times. This is the time that she doesn't come because she's dead. It was the scariest idea in the world for my mom to be dead. I mean, in a way, it sort of still is if I think hard enough about it. But it doesn't cripple me like it used to as a kid. I just had the worst separation anxiety. I think that probably comes from... I'm not going to say that I had nobody if my mom wasn't there. Because that isn't true. I have family members. I didn't have anybody that I would ever feel remotely safe or have the same connection with as I did with my mom. She still means a lot to me, of course. Of course. And I really freak out at the idea of the end of the world. I don't even care so much about me dying in the upcoming apocalypse. I fear my mom dying. I fear watching my mom die. I fear my mom getting sick and me watching her degrade. That's why that's part of the reason why I've been so quick to get like these COVID tests whenever I've had these phantom symptoms. Is that I'm so scared of giving it to my mom and watching her degrade and know that it's my fault. Even if she doesn't die from it, just knowing, like if she even just suffers a lot from it, it's terrifying. It's really, really terrifying. But I mean, of course, my mom can be 5 minutes late getting somewhere and I don't have to feel bad about it anymore. And it's a real problem, and this is not a personal attack on my mom. It's a problem that I have, too. It's weird. My sister doesn't really seem to have this problem. My mom and I are not punctual people. It's a real problem to our to business, to the professional world. We're just not very punctual people. We have a hard time getting places on time. We can get places on time, especially if we feel like you get there on time or you die or you're fired. But I mean, in general, you can push the time however late it is. Without conscious effort, we will find a way to be 5 minutes later than that start time. If it was 5 p.m. when it was going to start, we'll get there at 5:05. If it's so bad, if you're so annoyed with that you're like, fine, I'm just going to have it start at 6. That way, no, it doesn't work that way. We will get there at 6:05 now. We will find that way. It used to honestly kind of make me mad about my mom when I was a kid. There's no sense in bringing it up now. I mean, like, it's not something that I'm going to fight with her about. But yeah, I mean, and it was honestly probably helpful for me to realize the pattern of, okay, she didn't die last time that she was late picking you up. She wasn't dead this time. She won't be dead in the future. Right? So it was probably helpful. But yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't help my anxiety. And when you have anxiety about something, some particular little tick, and people are doing things that sort of make it worse, it is really, really easy to start in your head thinking, well, they're just doing that to make me feel bad. I resent you for knowing this about me and trying to make it worse. And of course that's pretty ridiculous if you really think about it, but when you can't, like, if you don't just talk this out, like, and start realizing the fallacies, then you can really, really genuinely hold that belief. My family has a real problem with crying. It's really unfortunate. And one of these posts that I'm going to put on Instagram is talking about what are some words of wisdom you want to pass down to your kids. One of them is that it is always okay to cry. There's no circumstance where it's unethical, where it's malicious. There's no circumstance where you're not allowed to cry. If you are legitimately crying about something, I mean, truth be told, there are some circumstances where I'd say that people probably cry to elicit some kind of response from the person that's seeing them. And I get it. Like, that's a bad thing to do, especially when it's used as a manipulation tactic. But if I'm a parent, if my child is crying, it does not matter. Even if they are trying to play some game. I might see through their game. I mean, I'll probably be able to because I'm an adult in this scenario, and they are a child, and I was a pretty manipulative little kid to adults in my childhood. That could be another fun topic. All the ways I manipulate people. All the ways I have. But I'm never going to say, you are not allowed to cry. Stop crying. I cannot think of a single time that I was ever told that, or I ever watched somebody get told that, where it elicited anything but more tears. All that you are saying is that your emotions that you're experiencing that you did not choose are unacceptable, so stop feeling them. And don't let me see those emotions that you couldn't control, that are coming out of you involuntarily, because it inconveniences me. Because it makes me feel bad, and my feelings are important. But your expression of your feelings is not important. That is all that you are saying when you tell a child not to cry. I honestly think if not so many people got told to stop crying when they were young, yeah, we'd emotionally mature. We'd get a smarter grasp. We'd get a better grasp on circumstances. We would maybe feel less catastrophic in certain situations. That we wouldn't necessarily feel naturally compelled to cry anymore. But also, I think that a lot of adults would cry more than they are now. I have a really hard time crying. And there are times when I'm like, man, I would feel so much better if I could just cry. If I could just let all those tears come out and just scream for a while. The few times when I can really, really let it out, it's so cathartic and I just feel this unending peace at the end of it. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience to cry. But I have to consciously teach myself to do it now. I have to really, really give myself every level of permission. A lot of times I feel prepared to cry and then I start, like maybe a few tears start coming out, and then I start beating myself up over it. Oh, you're just trying to make me feel bad. That's what parents would say to me sometime as a kid. Not just me, teachers and just adults. The generation before mine really got the idea that yes, it's very, very common that a child will cry just to make you feel bad. They don't feel any real emotions. They feel fine. But they want to get a one-up on you and they want you to feel bad. So your response is that you should tell them not to cry. And that voice comes back to me. Still. Even as an adult. I don't even talk to my father anymore who would tell me not to cry, me and my sister not to cry. My mom would never say something like that to me anymore. I don't really have adults that talk to you in the way that an adult talks to a child. I would cut those people right out of my life. I would never talk to somebody again if they told me to stop crying. I have so little tolerance for that. Maybe that's a blessing with the abusive people that I've had in my life. But even now, when I start to cry, I start telling myself, oh, you're just making this up. You're just trying to have this moment. Because you think that makes you good. Things that make you special or cool or dramatic, or you're just trying to have some like really melodramatic movie moment or whatever. And it doesn't, I'm by myself. I'm completely alone. I specifically pick places where I know that nobody can see or hear me. And it's still just, I can't get very far. I can't get that real catharsis and relief. Because as soon as that voice comes in just a little bit that says, oh, you're just faking this. You're just pretending to have emotions that elicit crying. As soon as there's even a whisper, it just permeates and I just can't get it to go away. And so I just stop. I wipe off the few tears I was able to get out, and I get back to work. I get back to just holding it in. I don't think adults are any better at dealing with their emotions than children are. I think they're better at intellectualizing about it. They are better at thinking about it, but thinking is not the same as feeling. I think that a lot of adults are really, really blunted in that way. I want to maybe set like a weekly like cry session. Like for this hour, cry all that you want to. And don't like, I mean, and you can worry about it. You can have like those mean thoughts that are saying like you're literally only doing this. The fact that I'm going to do it on a schedule, I mean, those thoughts are probably right. But just remind myself, it doesn't even matter if you're faking it. Doesn't even matter if you're just crying for the sake of crying. Just do it. Just do it. And it's the same way that you ever like stand in a group of people and like you all start fake laughing. This was an exercise I did in acting class or something like that. You all start fake laughing, and what happens? People's fake laughs are so funny that real laughs come out of you when somebody snorts or something, and so another person like starts laughing at that, or somebody just has a really, somebody will just have a really funny cadence to their laugh. I got a pretty ridiculous laugh, like when I'm just like really in the moment. I have most of the time my shoulders just bounce and I just let out air. That's normally how I laugh. But then when I really, really like belly laugh, it's really, oh man, I can't demonstrate it for you unless it's a real hearty, genuine belly laugh, but you might get to hear it on these videos sometime. But I think that's about what would probably happen if I did, like a weekly cry session. I think I would start off like really forcing it, really sort of like, I mean, I can cry on command already. It doesn't help that voice that tells me you're just making this up, you're just pretending to cry, when I actually am an actor and I've developed the ability to cry over the years. I feel like I would have like this real struggle at the beginning when I was really forcing it. Come on, let's cry, let's cry. But I feel like it would eventually turn real. Without any real effort. I'm gonna have to put that to the test though. That is a hypothesis. This is like those science fair projects. Gosh, I hate science class so much. I don't hate science. I refuse to say that I hate science. I hate science class. I hate science class so much. Of course, I'm only saying that because I'm bad at it. I love acting class because I'm great at it. If somebody's bad at acting, then they hate acting class. That's just how the world works, isn't it? So maybe that's something that I want to do in the coming year. I want to reteach myself how to cry. I'm honestly viewing all my goals through the scope of like, if the world ends exactly a year from now, what do you want to do right now? And there's this wonderful thought that I have sometimes that, well, maybe, just maybe, I use this goal of, getting all these things done before the world ends very, very soon, and then we magically find some way to fix everything. We find a mixture of chemicals that when you throw it out into the air, makes it all pure and gets rid of the carbon concentration. And it makes all diseases go away too. And it just makes everything okay. We'll find some sort of world panacea. And then I'll have accomplished all this stuff and grown so much in that time accomplishing all that stuff. And then I don't even have to die at the end of it. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that just be fantastic? Heck, tell me I'm gonna die tomorrow. Every single day, I want to hear a legitimate, threat that I'm about to die in like 24 hours from now. Because I want to feel that freedom legitimately every single day. People say, you can live every day like it's your last. Yeah, but you can't really. I'm always gonna have somewhere in the back of my head like, if I go and I waste all my money somewhere, I'm always going to have in the back of my head, okay, but you know that you're not actually going to die tomorrow. You know that you're going to have to deal with the consequences of your reckless spending tomorrow. I want to legitimately believe every single day that the world is going to end tomorrow. And maybe that'll make me homeless. Maybe I'll waste all my money, I'll crash my car, I won't set the house on fire because that belongs to my mom. Oh gosh, did I really just admit that publicly? Well, I'd admit it to my friends, and I consider you imaginary viewers my friends. Yeah, so I wouldn't set the house on fire, but I would tell every pretty girl that I saw, hey, you're really pretty. If I was romantically interested in somebody, I'd just tell them, hey, I'm romantically interested in you. And I'd fail in so many different areas. But I would succeed. One out of those many, many times. For the rest of my life, I would probably have at least one little success every single day. And a whole bunch of failures. But I would not care about them because I would think every single day that I was going to die the next day. And that would just be my life. That would be the rest of my life. If I was going to die tomorrow, I don't know what I'd do today. I'd probably ask my mom if we could hop in the car and if we could drive down south through California and visit my sister and my brother-in-law. And if they were up for it, I would really like all of us to just go on a drive somewhere that none of us have ever seen before. None of us have any expectation about it. We'd just drive. We'd just see a bunch of beautiful things, and we could maybe interact with some people. I don't know if I'd probably want to visit my best friend as well, and maybe a few other distinct people, but yeah, I would, I just want to drive around and just look at the world, and I would realize that the end of the world, the fact that the COVID doesn't matter. I would realize that global warming doesn't matter when you're going to die tomorrow. I would realize that all the catastrophes of the world, I don't have to feel anybody else's pain because my time's coming to a close. I could just, nature doesn't care about how crazy the world is right now, at least not in this exact moment. I'd look at some beautiful trees and be like, even with wackiness in this world, this tree is just as beautiful. I'd look at the ocean and say, hey, even though that thing may rise and kill us all soon, it's really wonderful to look at right now. I'd want to have a few people around me when I died, if I could make that work. I'd want to have, that's probably the crew. My best friend, my mom, my sister, and my brother-in-law. That'd be a good little crew to have at the end. I wouldn't need it too big. I wouldn't want it too big. There are plenty of people that I really love and I really appreciate out in this world that, I get anxious at hosting parties. I get anxious at parties that I'm not hosting, but especially anxious if I'm hosting the gathering because I feel 1000% responsible for everybody's enjoyment at that party. So I think if it were for no other reason than just the anxiety of it all, of having all these people, then I would think that I would probably, my first inclination would be to just have that little small gathering. But then again, I mean, if there's any time to try to conquer your fear of, like your social anxiety, it's right before you die, because you don't have another chance. Yeah. Well, I'm happy that if the world does end tomorrow, I made another hour-long video. And this one, let me tell you, it was a lot harder to get through than yesterday's. Isn't that? I have so much more to say about my face than I do about the world. My face is my world. It's what I've had perpetually. I can forget the world sometimes. I can never forget my stinking face. The world... I was going to make some sort of smart philosophical observation, but yeah, our world is whatever we have to see all the time. Our world is whatever we feel compelled to do every single day. And my world is a big layer of skin, several layers of skin over some bone that is attached to a long cord that's attached to a whole bunch of other bones. I still haven't made use of some of the things that I had on hand in case, I ran out of things to say. So maybe I'll try experimenting with that stuff in the coming days a little bit. Like, if I really go into a day like I don't have a solid, hard topic to get into, you'll see me doodle on a whiteboard or listen to me play some public domain music. Man, I got 2 minutes left. What do I talk about? As long as we're talking about the end of the world. I don't know. I just really like when the end of the world comes around, if there's one thing I just really hope I'm not doing, I hope I'm not looking at my phone. I hope I'm not checking for updates. I hope I'm not trying to boost my dopamine or distract myself any from what's going on. When the World Caves In, which is a great song, by the way. There are some good cover versions of it. Any version is really, really good. It's a great song. When the world caves in, I just want to sit here and just have that experience and just take it in. I'm like, Joe, whether you wanted it or not, you've been thinking about this on and off for your whole life. And here it is. This is what you came for. This is part of the experience of being human, is leaving this world. So be present until the very last second when you can't be conscious anymore. Just be here and just let the world end. And let yourself be destroyed. And let yourself cease to exist. Because guess what, Joe? You're about to find out. That thing that we've all been wondering. You're about to find out. If your consciousness persists. If you keep existing, whatever is you keeps existing, even when this body and this mind are shut down. And that's kind of, I don't know, like the end of a book that you really liked reading. You're not necessarily happy that it's over, and you're never going to be able to experience the first reading session ever again. But you only get one of these endings. as well.